Welcome in, guys, and I am back to talk about the AFC South, and we are back to talk about the Indianapolis Colts for 2025. And you look at the Colts for 2020 after the 2024 season, it looks like that they finally had enough of the Anthony Richardson situation when he's like, oh, I'm tired with all these play calls, whatever. And ultimately, they needed a quarterback in the 2025 off season, so they signed Danny Dimes, and he did a decent job until like they had that game in Germany and he got injured, and then Philip Rivers comes in, and ultimately that's where it was kind of downward spiraling, and ultimately the season was done for, and yeah, Philip Rivers came back out of retirement. 44-year-old Philip Rivers was trying to save the Colts season, and in return, again, look, Philip Rivers came back, and he's gonna get some health insurance, and that's great for him, and he has a ton of grandkids and kids and whatever. But yeah, he could have. I mean, you look at the 2026 Hall of Fame class this year. Drew Brees is going in the Hall of Fame because he retired like 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. Again, you look at Philip Rivers, he could have gone in the Hall of Fame this year or at least next year, if he didn't play this year. Now that he's come out of retirement for the 2025 season, he's got to wait another 5 years till he can go back in again. So when you're looking at 2030, was it like 2035, something like that? I don't know, but anyway, you look at really the additions that they signed. Because Danny Dimes came in. Um, they signed Kyron Byram from the Vikings at safety. They signed cornerback Travarius Ward, uh, cornerback, linebacker Joe Bonacci from the Bengals, and Xavier Howard from the Dolphins. And then the addition that they lost, it wasn't really like a big deal, but you're looking at Ryan Kelly, who departed to the Vikings at center, Will Fries departed at guard, Grant Stroud, linebacker, got signed by the Lions, Kylan Granson, tight end, got signed by the Eagles, EJ Speed, linebacker, got signed with the Texans, Denver signed Sam Ellinger, Joe Flacco. Again, they should have kept Joe Flacco, man. I'm saying, like, they could have kept Joe Flacco. They would have gotten themselves a playoff chance. They would have probably got themselves in the playoffs this year, but ultimately it didn't really matter because they started really well. They're like 8-2, and then, like I said, Danny Dimes gets injured in Germany, and they finished 8-9. Um, you're looking at the draft here. Tyler Warren coming in at tight end. Again, they needed some more weapons on the offense side of the ball. I think Tyler Warren coming in from Penn State was a great addition. First 14th overall. Second round pick TJ Tagovailoa, defensive end from Ohio State. They traded away a pick to the Rams. Justin Wally at cornerback from Minnesota. Jalen Travis at offensive tackle from Iowa. DJ Giddens, running back from Kansas State. So again, you're looking at the beefing up that offense. Brad Leonard came in as a 6th round pick from Notre Dame. Tim Smith came in as a tackle from Alabama, and then linebacker Hunter Waller from Wisconsin. And then the schedule here, like you look at the first week of the season, they start three. I mean, look, the first like few weeks of the season, they're like 7-2. Like going into weeks 1 to 9, they're 7-2, and then they go to 8-2. Like I said, in the game in Germany, they beat the Falcons in overtime. But ultimately, that means that Danny Dimes got injured, and they go to after the bye week of week 11. They lose in overtime with a three. They lose in overtime on the road to the Chiefs by 3 points. They then lose to the Texans at home, lose to Jacksonville on the road, lose to Seattle on the road, lose to the 49ers on the road, lose to Jacksonville on the road, and then they finished. Well, they got destroyed by Seattle by the 49ers, 48 to yeah, it was 48 to 27, and then they lose the final game on the road in regular season, 30 to 38, and like I said, 8 and 9. You're looking at really. Danny Dimes still had almost 3,000 passing yards this season, so he had a pretty good season, including the injury. He had 3,101 passing yards. Jonathan Taylor again had over 1,000 and over 1,000 rushing yards. Points for, they had the 8th best points in the league. They had the 8th best offense in the league. Defense, they had the 21st. They was 21st in defense. Again, if you're looking at this team for next season, they definitely need some more additions. I think on the offense. I don't think Tyler Warren was that impressive in rookie year. The whole thing is they've got to keep a hold of Jonathan Gannon and hopefully they don't. You know what I mean? Like, if they lose Jonathan Gannon on that offense, they are fucking screwed. Because he's holding the glue up with this team. I know you have Alec Pierce, but he's not putting up the numbers that Jonathan Taylor is. They have, again, they have about 34 million in cap space, so they've got a pretty much a decent level of cap space. But again, the additions of what they need in this team, they need to beef up that defense. I know the additions that they got in the offseason weren't good enough. Chris Ballard should not be the GM of the Colts anymore. He should have been for a long time. They should have moved on from Chris Ballard, but they don't want to move on from him for some reason because he's a dumpster fire. But yeah, they haven't got a first round pick, so they only have a second round pick, a third round pick, and they could have a fourth round pick, a fifth, sixth, and a seventh round pick. But they need to address the quarterback position. Are you going to stick with Danny Dimes? How serious is that Danny Dimes injury? Do you call that Philip Rivers again? No, I don't think you're going back there again. And I just don't see, again, if Dan doesn't play in 2026 and he's injured for a whole year, are you going to put your eggs in the Riley Leonard basket and maybe try to tank for a quarterback for 2027? I don't know really what you're going to do here. If you're going to tank for a quarterback in 2027 and play a Riley Leonard, or maybe you bring back Philip Rivers, that's probably your best option here. You have a 34 million in cap space, so you have got quite a lot of room to, like, you know, get some additions in that you need. You need some better additions on the offensive line. You need 4 new starters on the offensive line. You need to fix your secondary. You need some. You need to make sure that Jonathan Taylor stays in Indiana, because if he goes, that's it, you're done. But yeah, leave your guys' thoughts in the comments, guys. What do you think the Colts are going to finish? But ultimately, it started well, Colts fans. Like, again, you just kind of being like Peyton Manning trying to run it back, but at the end, it led to nothing. And yeah, bye guys.